Whenever it was that your mother and your father decided to get it on, and when your father's sperm cell united with your mother's egg, you were conceived. And if you're watching this, then obviously your mother was healthy enough and she had the moral fiber to not be brainwashed into aborting you for whatever reason. And when you came to term and you left your mother's womb, whether it be through cesarean section or natural birth, you entered this world and you set the course for this fatal trajectory. Because after all, every life comes with a death sentence. Now I know that may seem a little excessive, honestly. Who knows, I could die later today choking on a cheeseburger, getting a car wreck, who knows? But it is one of the core principles of natural law that everything that lives eventually dies. Now today what we're going to talk about is a harsh realization that I have came to. It's a conclusion that I have arrived at, and I'm sure many of you have came to the same conclusion. Now, first off, let me say this. I'm not endorsing violence when I talk of these things. I'm not. I'll also say, though, that I don't disavow violence either. I've said that before as well. But I'm not endorsing it, not encouraging anyone. In some ways, I feel like that sort of thing is a bit premature, you could say. But it doesn't change the fact that I've came to the conclusion that there really is only one way out for our people of all of this mess. There really is. And it's what it's coming to. Like I said, I'm not endorsing violence, but I think that we should be ready and that we should be prepared. In these dissident spheres, in these racialist spheres, from my observations, it appears to me that there are two main courses of action that we espouse. The first one is political activism. The second one is basically survivalism, getting out in the woods, basically. Now, first I will look at, political activism. Myself, I think, for myself at least, I'm not inclined to engage in this political activism. As I see it, this whole system is rotten, it's corrupt. There's no political solution, and we aren't voting our way out of this current situation. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying these things to denigrate against political activism. I believe it has a place and it has a purpose. I have a friend, good friend, and we've talked about this before, and he strongly disagrees with me. And that's absolutely fine. And the point he made was that, when we were talking about this, is he said that even if it's doomed to fail, we have to do something. And I have to say, I admire this. That was a good answer. We have to do something. That's for damn sure. Absolutely. And I'm not saying this to denigrate against political activism. If you are inclined to do such a thing, by all means, go ahead and I'll support you. If you ever get a candidate for some election that I could vote in, I would absolutely vote for them. But I also bear in mind, too, that a vote is just a vote. And I think even if, perhaps, say, hypothetically speaking, there was a candidate that a certain party of our guys decided to run, I'd vote for them. I don't really have high expectations of them, pulling it off. I don't think things are bad enough yet. We haven't reached that level. But I do think that level is coming, and I can understand people wishing to engage in political activism in order to, prepare things, to set the table, you could say, for when the moment arrives. But like I said, at least for myself, I'm not inclined to do such things. I'm not a politician. Never will be. I don't have a political mind, to be honest. And I think that even, how should I phrase this? I think that it's going to be tough to beat the system at its own game, playing by its own rules. It's just how I see it. But I admire my friend's point of view. I'm fine with people disagreeing with me. Actually, I encourage it. I think it was General Patton that one time said that if everyone is thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking. The other point of view, and this is the one that I'm in favor of, this is the one that I believe will work, could work, is white separatism. Is us breaking away from the system, perhaps creating some sort of, small parallel society. Survivalism, getting out in the woods, living closer to nature. But this also, has its flaws. I acknowledge that. Although I think this is the one I'm partial to. This is the one I'm in favor of. But the point I'm trying to make about this fatal trajectory is that engaging in political activism as I see it, it's much more likely that violence will come. Let me add something quickly here. That statement I made about, political activism, leading to violence, that could be correct, it could be incorrect. I think it depends largely upon the nature of the people that are, in charge of this so-called party. If it's an organic movement, I could see it, very possibly leading to violence. But it also could be, that they could be some bad actors that are in charge, the leadership of this theoretical party. They could be bad actors, could be some sort of gay op that basically would just, try to maintain the status quo, I would liken it, what I'm talking about here, I would compare it honestly as a form, or I would say that it's sort of a form of racial conservatism. That term itself is it's a good idea, on paper. But if you look at the movement of just conservatism in this country, here in the United States, growing up, I was a conservative, and it wasn't until, several years ago that I started to see that, conservatism is just this, it's a losing game, and it takes a lot of energy and, just misdirects it. Conservatism is a complete failure here in this country. I seen something the other day where someone had posted, they said that conservatism wants to conserve their enemies. And, you know, I think that this is a damn good observation. But, you know, if you're going to engage in political activism, you should do your homework. The leaders of this theoretical party, you know, they should be under a lot of scrutiny. Like I said, you should do your homework, and hopefully it's not some sort of movement that's just meant to divert energy and to pacify you. Just do your homework, you know, use common sense, and yeah. I mean, just looking at during the Trump years, Trump certainly wasn't one of our guys by any means. But did you see, you know, the violence, especially during 2020 last year, the scale of violence that was happening? You know, Trump wasn't one of our guys, but did you see how crazy it made the left? You know, they were agitated on by the media. You know, as I see it, the left, they have this sort of, I guess you could call, monopoly on violence, judging from their actions. The reason that they have this monopoly, though, is of course that they are backed up, propped up by the system. Any of their guys gets caught acting up, you know, usually they just get a slap on the wrist, if even that. While our guys, if they act up any bit, life in prison, death. But you see, what I'm trying to point out is, like, if there is a political solution and one of our guys actually gets in power, we need to be ready, because if you think what went on in 2020 was a big deal, I fear that we really haven't seen anything yet. That's just how I see it. That is the conclusion that I have came to. Like I said, I'm not endorsing violence, but I think it's coming. In fact, I would even say I know it's coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. As for my favored course of action, you know, getting out in the woods, white separatism, I like this, but I also acknowledge it has its shortcomings. Because, I mean, really, if the system was to come after us and our small communities out here in the woods, it's going to be very tough, and it might be highly likely that we will lose. We're on this fatal trajectory, like I said, regardless, it seems. I hear someone coming. I may go elsewhere to finish this video. I'm actually quite surprised I haven't seen anyone yet, so give me just a few minutes. Okay, sorry about that. Now, where was I? Going back to my favored course of action, you know, this just breaking away of the system, separating. I think it's less likely to lead to direct violence. But if the system wants us, the odds are certainly not in our favor. I mean, we look at what's happened in the past. You know, you see Ruby Ridge, you see Waco. You know, Waco wasn't really, you know, one of these racialist, separatist movements, you could say, ideas. We've seen what happened. The point I'm trying to make is that if we want white sovereignty, if we want our people to just be left alone, if we want to refuse to be parasitized, if we don't want our children to be indoctrinated, to be poisoned, there is really only one way out of this. You know, we've always, as I said, I'm not endorsing violence, but we've always known the solution. And it doesn't matter, as I see it, you know, which course of action that we take. whether it's political activism or just breaking away from the system, violence is looming. You know, it may not happen in our lifetime. It may be our children's lifetimes, perhaps our grandchildren's. As I see it, it is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Like I said, I hate to keep saying this. I'm not endorsing violence, but as I see it, it's inevitable. And what I'm trying to say is that we should be prepared for when the time comes. Strengthen yourself, strengthen your will, prepare yourself. That's really all we can do. And to just be ready. Is there anything else I'd like to add? And you know, from other friends, you know, I have drawn criticism from them before, talking about, you know, accelerationism. Honestly, and I understand where they're coming from. You know, I don't want, you know, I just want to be left alone. I want my people to be left alone. What does that mean? You know, I just want to grill, basically. That's what we want. And that's why I'm in favor, you know, of these sort of white separatist type things, these ideas. But we always have to bear in mind, and we have to be ready, as I see it. Thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye.